But I think the first thing people should invest in, before life insurance, before retirement accounts, the first thing we should invest in is
if I start a blog, how much money can I expect to make? All you see is success stories that say, I make $100,000 a month from my blog and, I had nothing. It's all just BS. Agency people in general, not a lot of the people who own these companies, have a real clear demonstrated past that they were successful doing the disciplines that they sell.
Again, there's never been a time in the history of the world where it's easier to research than there is right now. I could literally find almost anything on this device in my pocket.
When you're at a company that small, you end up doing a million different things and you don't make that much money, but you learn so much. And the bigger companies, you tend to learn less.
Two ways to make money. You either provide a service for someone or you sell a product. And the hard part of selling a product is if you don't have a product to sell. So the easiest way to start in sales is selling someone else's product.
I had an ad that came up and the ad cost me 10 cents a click. I probably made $250,000 worth of Uber credit doing that.
I literally have talked to people that have well into the seven figures that are making less than $500,000 a year. I mean, you're talking like low single digit profit margins, which in my mind, they're a couple months away from going broke. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cash Flow Conversations. Today, we have a special guest from LA who is currently in Florida right now at his childhood home, visiting some family. But Kevin Miller, it's good to have you on the call today.
Thanks, Matt. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk.
Absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to it. You and your business partner have ended up creating a $20 million company just in a few years. So it'll be exciting talking about how you got there because it didn't always start out that way. And as few as 5 years ago, you were a W-2 employee.
Yep. I was a W-2 employee at a company called Open Door, which is a publicly traded real estate platform. And I graduated college in 2013. I probably had 6 or 7 different W-2 employment, opportunities before I started my current company. So it's I got a good chance to understand like kind of what that life is like and the financial implications versus what I'm doing now.
And so what was your role there at that old job?
I was my last job before I started my current company, I was the director of growth marketing. And so what that really means is I would oversee the digital marketing channels that we would use to generate new customers. Facebook ads, Google ads, email marketing, SEO, things of that nature, I was in charge of to help us get new customers.
And so when did you start that gig?
I started that gig I moved to Los Angeles on July 1st, 2017, and it was for that job.
Okay.
And so I worked there for, about 3 years and change.
How old were you?
26.
So I'm young, 26 years old, moving to the West Coast to pursue a new gig.
Prior to that, I spent 4 years in San Francisco.
Oh, okay, cool. What was up there?
2 of which I worked at Google, and that's where I learned a lot about digital marketing. The other 2, I worked at really small startups, seed stage and Series A stage startups, because I felt like that was a great way to really accelerate my learning. When you're at a company that small, you end up doing a million different things.
Yeah.
And you don't make that much money, but you learn so much, and the people there are typically really smart, and you advance. You might work 1 year of, a 12-month period, but your learning may accelerate by 3 years if you were at a Salesforce for that time, or Oracle, or, the bigger companies, you tend to learn less.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. So how many employees did they have at those 2 seed companies?
Oh, I would say 8 and 10 respectively.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your boots are on the ground, man. You're getting dirty in that gig.
Yeah. So you're dealing directly with the founder and CEO, and the co-founding team is often like highly, highly intelligent. These companies had raised $4 or $5 million from Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz. They don't just give money to anybody. So, you're in the same room every day. You get to understand how these people think, what motivates them. Typically, they have backgrounds where they had exits of prior companies that were pretty significant. And we were right in the heart of Silicon Valley, before the pandemic, which was still a great time to be there. Now it's changed a little bit, and a lot of people have moved to other areas because it's cheaper to live, and remote work became more accepted. But back then, that's where you wanted to be. If you were starting a technology company, that's where you went. Just like if you wanted to work on Wall Street, you want to work in finance, you were in New York City.
Yeah, exactly. You better like cold weather if you like.
Exactly.
So when you were at that old seed company then up in San Fran, that lasted a couple of years, how did you find the real estate opportunity?
Well, I did a lot of networking, through my time there. I met so many people, and that was just my MO. Was like I just wanted to meet new people, learn about what they did. One opportunity always leads to another. And I actually, when I was working at Google, I uncovered a very interesting arbitrage opportunity online. And so this was 2014, and this was the time when Uber and Lyft first introduced their referral programs to to the world, basically. And if I invited you to take your first Uber ride, I would get paid $20 in Uber credit. And at that time, the first thing I did was I started a website called uberfreerides.com. And it was a splash page that just had my promo code. So if someone was Googling promo code for Uber promo code, free ride Uber, whatever it was, I had an ad that came up. And the ad cost me 10 cents a click.
Yeah.
And it would take about five to 10 clicks to get someone to take my code, put it in their app, and for them to take their first ride.
Wow.
And I probably made $250,000 worth of Uber credit doing that.
Are you serious?
And and it's a long-winded way of answering your question. So I started to do this for myself, my dad, my brother, anyone in my extended family. So they'd give me $1 of ad spend and I'd make them 20. And so word started to get out amongst my friend group. My brother had me do it for his best friend from college. His best friend from college had a startup that was funded by a well-known angel investor in New York and in LA. His name is Jeff Lowe. He's currently on my board of directors at my current company, GR0. And he said, hey, I'll give you my credit card. Let's see how far you can take this. And so I started to do it for Lyft and for DoorDash and for a lot of other services because they all launched these referral programs because it helped with virality and it helped with customer acquisition so much.
Yeah.
And he invested in the real estate company and he placed me there he contacted the CEO and said, I have a guy who has tremendous digital marketing skills. You should hire him. And that's how I got the opportunity. And then I moved from San Francisco to Los Angeles, and I'm still living in Los Angeles now.
Wow. Okay, so that code idea that you started doing for everybody, that's like an affiliate, right? Like you're basically an affiliate for all these startups that now are multi-billion-dollar companies, but weren't back then. Exactly.
Yep. And I started to do it for as many. There's probably 7 or 8 others that I did it for that worked, to some extent, but not as good. But it was so successful that I ended up getting banned from Uber. I actually can't ride Uber today at all.
Oh, let you in the car?
No, I can't. Well, I can't open the app. You can't, and it's so interesting because I was spending my own money to acquire new customers for them.
Yeah.
And so I got into, they emailed me and they changed their terms of service as a result of this. You no longer can bid on the term Uber. You can no longer use the term Uber in a Google ad if you're not Uber themselves. They got the name trademarked and all this. When I talked to their support team, I said, well, I understand you don't like me doing this, but why don't you hire me to do this at Uber?
Yeah.
And they said no. They weren't interested.
Really?
Yeah. So I just do it,
that was a blessing. That was a blessing in disguise, really.
Yeah. I'm a loyal Lyft customer, but I learned a lot through that, and there's a lot of other small side projects I did that never worked out, but are a good story. And that all contributed to me, wanting to do my own thing.
Wow. I'm kind of blown away by that success with just having an Uber code and then having them get mad at you and you're giving them clientele.
Totally. Yeah. They have people on staff that are acquiring new customers. They thought that they would get the same customer anyways. I disagreed. But it worked for a long time. That's actually the only way I was able to afford living comfortably in San Francisco. So it was actually like a big deal for me because I was able to ride for Uber for free.
Yeah.
And they were offering food at that time too. They were experimenting with their own food before they bought Postmates. So I was able to eat, drink, and get transportation for free. And that was the difference between me having any extra spending money and not.
Wow, good for you. So as a W-2, go out on your own, make something. And I joke there's 2 ways to make money. You either provide a service for someone or you sell a product.
Mm-hmm.
And the hard part of selling a product is if you don't have a product to sell. So the easiest way to start in sales is selling someone else's product. And
Right.
And you don't have to go knock on doors to do that once you understand the online digital space, which I think is still in its infant stages. I mean, it changes all the time, but it's still in its infant stages. There's so much opportunity that people don't even understand. So if somebody was looking into that, I mean, would they start looking into like affiliate marketing? Is that what you would call it?
Yeah, that would lead you directly to affiliate marketing. And traditional affiliate marketing would be like, I love pets, so I have a pet blog that talks about, is my dog allergic to this or that, or should I feed my dog or cat this or that? And then in your article, you would hyperlink to a product that if your dog eats this and becomes allergic, you can give him or her this. And, it's a direct link to Chewy.com. They can buy that product. And if they buy it, you get 20% of the purchase value. That's traditional affiliate marketing. Another big niche is web hosting. So like, you want to start a website tomorrow and you need a place to host it. Cloudflare is a huge hosting, entity. They're a public company. There's so many out there, and like, you Google best hosting website and there's a bunch of blogs that help you determine who you should choose.
Wow.
They're all getting paid to do so, and that's the entire business model of NerdWallet. They help you make smart financial decisions. They direct you to credit cards, hotels,
Right.
experiences, Airbnbs, anything travel. Their entire business model is getting a kickback for educating the consumer and sending them to a destination where they spend money.
Wow. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like that. You have people working W-2, 60, 70 grand a year. Call it 120 grand a year. And they say, I can't change. I've been doing this for 20 years. There's no way to make more money. And you can start a website. I mean, how hard was it to start a splash page?
I mean, that was super simple. I mean, even for people who are not good with technology, I mean, it was not hard. I went to WordPress.com and they helped me do it. And I was able to just type in what I wanted it to say. Now, separately from that, I don't think that it's right for someone to say, I'm stuck in this job and I can't make more money, because before I started Grow, I started a website called thewordcounter.com, which I still own. It's a grammar blog. And I wanted to do it because I knew I was starting this agency and I needed a case study for building a website that got a lot of organic traffic. So I was doing research one night and I found that 1 million people a month search for the term word counter. And it's typically students that are, believe it or not, like literally making sure that their essay.
Oh, yeah.
1,000 words, 1,200 words. Now you'd think that's totally antiquated, and partly it is, but a lot of people still search for that.
Because you can go on Google Docs. It'll tell you how many words.
Exactly. Now, a lot of people don't know that. So there's still, out of everyone in the world, there's still 1 million people that don't know that and go search for that every month. So
do you make money there? So what do they upload a document, then you tell them how many words?
No, I just, there's a little, if you go to the website, there's a little box on the homepage and you type in your content and it just tells you in real time how many characters it is. And then I wrote tons of articles, and I paid to have people write a lot of articles as well on the website that explain common grammar misconceptions. Like what's a metaphor? What's, the difference between your and your, or there versus there? Some people get really passionate about those debates. There's a lot of people who search for those things. So now, last year, 2022, that website did $50,000 in revenue.
How does it make money? From ads?
Ads, yep.
So because you have organic traffic, you then can have somebody else pay you to put their product on your website.
Exactly. So once your website gets at least 25,000 visitors a month, you are eligible to join different ad networks. The most popular ad network is called Google AdSense. The secondary one is probably a company called AdThrive, which is who I use. And you just click a button, you place a pixel on your website, and you upload it, and then you can display ads. Now, when people talk about these types of projects, they often just completely omit how much it costs, which I think is like the most annoying thing ever. Because when I was trying to figure out, if I start a blog, how much money can I expect to make? All you see is success stories that say, I make $100,000 a month from my blog, and I had nothing. It's all just BS. I don't know why people won't just help other people out to figure out what it actually costs.
Yeah.
But for anyone listening to this, I have it documented somewhere, but from my recollection, I paid somewhere like $15,000 to get the website built and designed. And the company that I use is a company called Techie Scouts. They're in Los Angeles. They're a WordPress development company. So they built the website, they designed the website, and any new article that I had, I gave to them and they put it on the website. So they maintained it, all for around $15,000 probably in total. Wow. And then I spent another $10,000 over the course of the first year on getting articles written. And so, now you're into this website for $25,000. It's not negligible. That's most. So basically, I was still at Open Door making my W-2 salary, which was $144,000. And then I was paying my rent with it. And then I probably had an extra $2,000 or $2,500 a month, and I spent it on this.
Good for you.
Yeah. And then it got to a place where the site was getting enough traction and basically running on its own. That's kind of the way Google search works. If you get 1,000 articles on a website, they're going to rank. They're going to start ranking and they're going to get traffic regularly. So I stopped the content production and brought my costs down to basically zero.
Yeah.
And so I pay, I think this website cost me $250 a month now for hosting it and a couple other things. So maybe like a Namecheap or WordPress renewal of the domain. And so now it does $45,000 of profit annually. And I just keep that running in the background.
It's funny you talk about that, because especially the online world, it's not like it's no secret men like to brag, and you don't hear about net numbers. You hear top line gross numbers all the time. Oh, we're doing 6 figures a month. Oh yeah, well, what's your overhead? Oh, we're only making 4%. I literally have talked to people that have well into the 7 figures.
Yeah.
That are making less than $500,000 a year. I mean, you're talking like low single digit profit margins, which in my mind, they're a couple months away from going broke.
I know. I mean, they probably are. So I just thought that was disingenuous of like the internet at large. People will try to put on a good face. So like for, people listening to this, it's like, hey, this is the truth. I want people to know what it actually takes. Because
how fun I don't want to go up this because in my head, how fun is it too for the first time for you to say, all right, I'm going to spend $25,000 on something outside of my W-2, not buying a car. I'm going to spend $25,000 on building my own website that I'm going to control. What were the odds that you were going to let that thing fail?
I mean, near zero. And I had studied SEO for the previous 2 or 3 years, so I knew what I was doing. It was just a matter of doing it. Now, it was still very painful to go and spend that money, and I wasn't certain it was going to work, but I had a secondary reason for doing this. No other SEO agency founder that I knew of had their own website to say, oh, well, why should you hire my company? Because I have my own demonstrated success doing this. Wow. So if I was to be, if you wanted to hire someone to fix your shower head, I need to be able to know that the person who's fixing it has fixed 100 others in their life.
Yeah.
Right. But I found it so weird that the SEO industry is so, agency people in general, I'm not too fond of the industry, even though I'm in it, because not a lot of the people who own these companies, have a real clear demonstrated past that they were successful doing the disciplines that they sell.
Well, if you look back, I think in 20 years, we'll be able to look back at the last few years and the skyrocketing growth of the marketing industry, specifically in the digital world, because the older millennials, the Gen Xers, and the boomers have no clue how to do it. And I don't think you'll ever have a decade or maybe more where you see more millionaires made that are just in their 20s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throughout history of humankind, there's never been that many people in their 20s and low 30s that have made so much money so quickly because of the value that they bring to the table. And so, and what that allows you is, fake it till you make it. There's a lot of people faking it that were pretty good at what they did. They might be pretty good at it, but they got to make a lot of money at a time that 20 years prior, that skill wouldn't have made them any money.
And that, of course, and there's a whole new wave, even that I'm too old for, and I'm 32, which is
what's that?
TikTok stars, YouTube stars, who have 100,000 subscribers and they make money from Google on absolute autopilot.
Yeah.
There's countless people making $100,000 a month getting checks from Google that will never go away.
Yeah. Unless you're Russell Brand.
Unless you're Russell Brand. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, it's tough to make that work. You have to come up in the right time. So most of the people who have those careers now, they were early adopters of those platforms. And so if you try to be a YouTube or TikTok star today or Instagram, good luck. Those platforms are too mature. It's nearly impossible to grow a following into the multiple millions that you would need to make, that income full time. So maybe there will be a new, these things just always work the way they work, where you can exploit it, but only if it's a brand new platform that other people really haven't figured out yet.
And you mentioned earlier too that you don't like when people say I can't do that because I've been in my job for 20 years. I'm stuck here. What came to my mind is what's more important, the skill set to do it or the ability to try and get out of your own way?
Yeah, it's a limiting belief. It's just a limiting belief. Now, what people should expect though is that you might do a side project and it might fail. Yeah. And then a lot of people will stop and say, I knew I shouldn't have tried that. That put me X amount of months behind in my savings. Like, let me just go back to my job.
That's failure, man. That's selling when you're down. Don't sell when you're down.
Yeah, I mean, I have like 10 projects that I started before that didn't work, so that I wasted money on. But I learned so much.
Did you waste money then? I mean,
I don't think so, because when I would use the stories in job interviews. So if you're young in your career and you have a story about how you started a website, the employer does not care at all if it didn't work.
No.
If it worked, you wouldn't be interviewing.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that you took the initiative to build a website, get a product from China, have it manufactured, design it, market it. Those are the things people care about.
I think you're 100% correct. And you said something that made me think, if you consider it wasting money on something that doesn't pan out into creating wealth, then what the hell would you call a college tuition?
Yeah, 100%.
But people separate themselves with hundreds of thousands of dollars because it's a college tuition.
I know.
When I started at Lawrence Tech as a freshman until the time I graduated with a master's 5 years later, 5.5, the tuition had more than doubled. And I remember looking at the numbers going, how could that happen in 5? Inflation wasn't that high. Then you look at how college debt is unforgivable in bankruptcy and then how much power the banks have. Why not lend money? If you were to lend money to someone for a house where if they go bankrupt, you might get the house, whatever it's worth, or to a kid who's going to college who, even if they go bankrupt, they have to pay you.
Yeah.
The bank wants to lend to somebody who knows they're going to get paid back. But yeah, if I considered wasting money on something that didn't pay me, what the hell would I call a college tuition? Because, because what you got out of all of that was, yes, it cost you money, but you got to experience it real time on your own. And it's amazing how much we learn when we have skin in the game versus mom and dad paying for college.
Yeah, it's a completely different ballgame because there's no other responsible party.
Mm-hmm.
You're the only responsible party. I wanted to, and it's always born out of like just a regular frustration. I mean, I grew up in a great family. I had the advantages of being able to go to college and then move to San Francisco. I'm sure, I can't remember specifically, but I'm sure my parents helped me with first month's rent when I was in San Francisco. But I got to a place where I couldn't eat it out at restaurants I wanted to, couldn't drink the, water that I wanted to, couldn't, and so I decided to try to make more money to solve that problem. Couldn't have my friends come out or visit them because I didn't have the money couldn't go home as much as I wanted, didn't have the plane flights, couldn't afford first class. Those things I was like, all right, this is my goal.
Yeah.
I want to be able to afford a first class ticket home to Florida for Christmas because it's a 5.5 hour flight.
Yeah.
And I just hate that.
Yeah.
So things like that, whatever motivates you, just go. It's different for every person.
But it comes down to two things, right? What's the motivation? Do I want to get rich or do I just want to make sure that I'm never going to go poor?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and you run towards pleasure or you run away from pain. And most of the time people run away from pain before they run to pleasure. And I think a lot of the successful entrepreneurs that I've met, one in particular just stands out, but a lot of them have the same mentality as like, the reason I succeeded is because I was scared to death to fail. Didn't want to go home, didn't want to face people. I was never going to let someone call me a failure. I know, dude, dozens of entrepreneurs that have said, you are not going to see me fail.
Yeah. Well, that's why I do the work with you that I do with life insurance policies, because I want to be fail proof.
Yeah.
So like, I look at that like, if everything else failed, I have that and I can work off of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a security blanket.
Yep. You have guarantees. And if you do it right, you can exponentially grow those guarantees by diversifying. You know, the life insurance is the first step. Then we funnel it out into something else that can have the same characteristics of security. And then you have permission then to go take risk on stuff. And I think the first thing people should invest in before life insurance, one of the first things before retirement accounts, the first thing we should invest in is our own education. And that doesn't mean a university. It means a specialization. What can I specialize myself in so that I can be really good, so that I can increase my income? Because the best way to increase your wealth is to fix your income. You got to do it first, man. You can't go spend 25 grand on a project until you're making 140 grand on your income.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And people go to college thinking they're going to make all this money when they get out, and the jobs don't exist. No, you know, as an employer, it's expensive having employees.
And I have no interest in hiring someone right out of college. I need to know that you have a discipline, and you worked somewhere else before me, ideally. Yeah. Because I don't want to take the risk. I don't have the time to train you. I mean, we have done it in some cases, but if we get a lot bigger, I'm sure we'll have much more of a training institute, kind of like how Google did when they brought me in, because I just had raw skills. I wasn't trained in anything yet. But a lot of employers can't afford to take a chance hiring on someone who says all the right things. I need you to come in. For example, I've got a role on our email marketing team right now that I desperately need to fill. I don't have I can't take a chance on someone who says they studied it and they think they could be effective. I need to know someone has handled like 10 clients a month at a previous agency just like mine. I can hire them. They can start in 2 weeks and they can take on accounts.
Yeah.
We don't have the time for anything else.
Yeah, you don't have that luxury. It's funny too. I mean, I don't know what it's like hiring a bunch of people out in California, like what people in the workforce trying to find jobs if they have experience. You know, you hear stories of the Gen Z work ethic isn't there because they want to get rich on YouTube and TikTok. What's it like trying to hire some people like that, or in that age group? You know, young mid-20s. How do you stand out? Here's another way. How do you stand out in the mid-20s to a guy like you with a $20 million company? How can someone make themselves valuable?
It all comes down to your demeanor. And if someone's humble and wants to work hard and they say they want to work hard. One concrete example is if my office is in Los Angeles. If I'm hiring in Los Angeles and you're in Los Angeles as a candidate, tell me you want to come into work. Tell me you want to come in 5 days a week. That'll really impress me.
You guys have some sick offices too, by the way.
Yeah. So that's what I did. I commuted an hour across town in Los Angeles for the last 4 years before I started this company. My boss wanted me in person.
Dude, hold on a second. Let's think about this for a second. The simplest thing to separate yourself from your peers is to look at your potential employer and say, I want to come into the office 5 days a week. I'm going to go kick ass. Like, 3 years ago, that's a joke.
Yeah, that's not even a discussion. That's the only way you can work.
Yeah, what else do you do?
Everything's fully remote. COVID made people socialize and accept that more. So, but yes, I mean, if someone said that to me, you're hired. That means you want the job and you're going to work hard.
Bro, I remember when I was working as an architect in an architectural firm during grad school, I couldn't even go to the bank because I was working during 5.
I know.
And I remember joking, banker's hours are like normal work hours. How do I even go to the bank? I have to get up on a Saturday morning just to even get into the bank, which also shows the time because now everything's on your cell phone. Another thing that's funny is when I was going to grad school at night, I would work 45 minutes away from home. My school was 45 minutes away from work, and then school was another 45 minutes home. And I drove a 2-door minivan with leather seats, and the front windows would go down, but that's it. Bro, in the middle of the summer, going to school, studios, I'd be driving. I would show up to work or to class, and my whole back would be all sweaty because it's like 130 degrees inside that car. And when online classes started coming out like that year, and I remember being so bitter. Like, no, you have to go. You put the work in to go to the class before you can go online to learn.
Yeah, because guess what? I mean, no one's going to pay attention the way they would. They don't work as hard. They don't pay attention the way they would if they were in person.
Yeah.
Just a fact.
Yeah.
Because you have that pressure. Someone's looking over you, and saying, can ask you a question about work at any moment. So that's the biggest differentiator. I also just love hiring people who have families or who are engaged because they have a higher purpose for which they're working.
Yeah.
They have to provide for themselves and their family. So that's not a hiring factor, but I just enjoy it when someone tells me that they have that, and I just know there's a greater reason why.
You probably would not have hired me when I was 29 years old.
Probably not.
If I didn't have to go to the office, I was going to work from remote. I'm talking about family. I did not know what a family was back then, but it changes with age.
It does. Changes with age. Yep.
Today's my anniversary too, so happy anniversary, wife.
Oh, wow. Happy anniversary. How many years?
6 years. 6 years. We were from Michigan and we went down to Nashville to get married, and now we live here in Nashville.
Well, I hope you don't spend too much more time working today, because I know we're on the East Coast. We're both on the East Coast. So hopefully you got something good planned tonight.
I feel you. We're central here in Nashville.
Oh, you're central. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So really quick before I let you go, so your agency GR0, what do you guys specialize in now that you have all this firsthand experience growing this for yourself, and now you do it for others, right?
Yeah. So we are a full service performance marketing agency. And so we do 5 things really well right now. The first is paid social, which means Facebook ads on, meta ads, if you will. Same with Instagram. We also do TikTok. So when we think of like the social umbrella, those are the 3, avenues we use. We do Google ads. We do email and SMS campaigns for clients. We do SEO, and we do creative marketing. Creative marketing means we shoot product shots of your product. We take videos of it, and we come up with creative concepts that you typically see in your Facebook and Instagram newsfeed.
Yeah, wow. So you got 5 different divisions, basically.
5 different divisions primarily. And next year, 2024, we'll probably add another 2 to 3. And there's only a total of about 10, maybe 11 that you can possibly offer. Like another one would be Amazon Ads Management, for example. We don't offer that yet, but I think we will. Another could be conversion rate optimization, where people run tests to figure out, okay, if my buy button is green versus orange, do I sell more product? And so that's what we've done. We started with SEO in 2020. We expanded to those 4 additional services for a total of 5. We have 80 full-time employees. We do $20 million in revenue.
Top line.
Top line, which with about 20% EBITDA margins.
Nice.
So it is a healthy business. And we're just looking to grow it. Primarily, 80% of our customer base are e-commerce products, physical products that you recognize, like a Theragun, for example, or Ritual Vitamins. They sell men's and women's vitamins. And the other 20% might be technology platforms, heavily venture-backed companies.
Interesting.
Things like Namecheap is a client. They're a domain registrar.
Interesting. So what's hard to do when you start seeing growth like you guys saw is not to overdrive your headlights. So you managed to add 4 new lanes in the last 3.5 years. Did that all happen at once, or did you strategically one at a time?
It was strategic one at a time, but some didn't work, as well as others. So, we overhired last year. So, like a lot of companies, when the rates went up and things changed, we downsized our team a little bit to make it more appropriate for how much business we had coming in. And we've launched some services that we then had to shut down. So, for example, we used to offer affiliate marketing, and that just didn't work. The operator that we had wasn't making it work, and we decided to part ways mutually. And so, I'm always interested in just offering. You don't know how good the product's going to be till you offer it, but when you do offer it, you got to listen to your customers and understand, are you solving their need perfectly? And if you are, great, keep it going. If you're not, you got to discontinue it. Yeah. So you got to pivot. So that's what we did. So those 5 services, we know for a fact, if you hire us, you will be happy with the result.
I love it.
And
you have different packages so people can engage.
Yeah, we have entry level packages, for example, with paid social. If you want to run Facebook ads, some people pay entry level package might be $3,500 a month, $4,500 a month, roughly, and it could go up to $40,000 a month if we are spending a lot of money.
Yep. So you charge based on ad spend?
Based on ad spend, correct.
Yeah, it's pretty typical. Yep. But I love it, man. This has been great. We should probably do this again, but before I let you go, for anybody out there who's working and has that mindset, I don't have a skill set. I don't know how to code. Well, WordPress fixed that. So someone says, I don't know how to affiliate market. I don't know how to do these extra things to make an extra $50,000. What do you say? What do you think? How would you, let's send it off with some advice.
I'd encourage people to go on YouTube and type in cash flow ideas, side hustle ideas, and find one that you're really passionate about. That you, for example, I'm not a big reader, but when I discovered SEO, I could read for hours about it.
Really?
Primarily, I could watch hours of video about it.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. And so it didn't feel, I wanted to spend my free time learning about SEO. So my advice would be investigate, and on TikTok too, people are already going to be on TikTok, type in side hustle ideas and look at ones that you think are interesting that actually have legs that you might want to try out and follow the one that is so interesting to you that you want to keep learning about it. Because you really do have to be the best at something in order to make money at it.
Yeah.
And that's where I would start. And then the second piece of advice, best piece of advice I've ever been given, is if you have a question about how to do something, find the person who has done it before and ask them how they did it.
Yeah.
So for example, you have life insurance policies. I don't understand life insurance. So I'm going to come to you and say, I'm trusting your judgment fully, but point me in the right direction and get me going.
Yeah.
For business insurances, when I started GR0, I don't know what directors and officer insurance is, or errors and omissions insurance. I don't know what I need, what I don't need. So I went to another entrepreneur who had an agency and said, who do you use for insurance? Okay, thanks for that. Are you happy with them? Would you recommend them? Okay, thanks for that. Would you please introduce me? Then I get on the phone with them and say, please set me up with, we have identical companies. His is just 10 years older than mine. Please tell me the exact insurances I need to buy. And I already know that I'm basically 90% of the way there because he found it for me.
Yeah.
I'm coming from a recommendation of someone who's been there, done that. So that's my advice for anyone who's whatever you want to do, find the person who did it and just ask them how they did it. And, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, trust their judgment.
I call it standing on the shoulders of giants. You're just taking what they're doing and you're going to mimic it and improve it and make it your own. And when it comes to the online research, dude, can you imagine? Again, there's never been a time in the history of the world where it's easier to research than there is right now. I could literally find almost anything on this device in my pocket. I don't have to go to a library. I don't have to check out a book and drive there. I literally can just open up my cell phone and do all that research on my own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating.
Kevin, thanks so much for hanging out with me, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Matt. I always love talking with you.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.